All right. So final two sections, kind of related, but we talked about, our strategy and how we implement ads. We talked about Google and Meta and all the type of ad types that we have to offer. But I wanted to outline some of the paid media challenges we encounter. I'm sure we've got inquiries from your team about these same challenges as well. Basically, just to address and outline how we combat these specific issues and fairly common issues that we'll run into across all the properties that we have, just to give you some transparency and kind of how we implement different strategies. So how this will be set up is basically I'm going to list the question at the top. This could be a question that we receive from you, or maybe we're looking into the account and we see this scenario appear. So what if my cost per lead doubles? So that would be cost per conversion or cost per lead. They're interchangeable in terms of how you identify them. There's 3 separate solutions that I've listed for all of these. In some cases, we'll implement one of these, wait to see how the account reacts, and then maybe move on to the second or third solution, or maybe that one solution solves the issue, or we'll do some variation of all 3 of these. So if your cost per lead doubles, the first thing we're going to do, we'll look at the cost per click, the click-through rate, the conversion rates, and then the competition to uncover why the cost per lead increased. Like we had that conversation earlier about looking at specific campaigns. Was it one campaign that doubled? Was it all 3 campaigns that doubled? Was it specific ad groups or keywords? Once we can zero in and get as specific as possible, then we can put a lot of our effort into that specific area of the account. So that's what we'll do first. Solution number 2, we'll shift the focus to more high-performing audiences. We might refresh creative, so ad copy, whether it be in Meta or in Google Ads, and then also pause underperforming keywords or ad groups to stabilize the cost. When I talk about focusing on spending on high-perform audiences, that might be a case where we shift the focus away from locations that are spending a lot of the budget but aren't converting, and we put that budget towards higher converting locations. That would be an example of where we're shifting away from a lower performing audience in that location to a higher performing audience. And then refreshing of creatives might be ad copy, might be copy on the landing page to help increase conversion rate, which will lower cost per lead in general. And then solution number 3, we'll redirect the budgets to the proven campaigns, ones that have converted in the past, that are meeting KPIs. It may be reducing budget on one campaign, increasing it on another. It also might be testing out some smart bidding strategies to regain the lead efficiency. So we might have manual bidding currently enabled on some accounts where we're setting the bids individual on each keyword. This might be a case where we'll switch to a maximize conversions bid strategy, allow Google to bid on keywords that are optimized for lead generation. And then we'll monitor that campaign and see how that performs over a period of time. And ultimately, we're just looking, to bring the cost per lead back down to what it was previously. We want to find the solution to the issue. And these are really the 3 main points that we'll address when this issue arises above here. Any questions on anything related to cost per lead or how we would handle this situation?
When would you go to a manual bidding strategy? Is that just as we did it before?
Yeah, normally once we make the switch to maximize conversions, we very rarely will go back to manual. There are some cases, this would be a case if we were receiving feedback that there was unqualified traffic. Usually when you switch to maximize conversions, it'll shift focus into basically 4 to 5 keywords in each campaign. And if we're not seeing qualified enough traffic come from those keywords, if we keep maximize conversions enabled, it's going to continue to push budget into those because it's Google saying these are converting, so I'm going to keep pushing budget into them. But if they're not converting to leases, then we don't want to keep pushing budget into them. So that would be a case where we would switch back to a manual bid strategy. We might pause those keywords, but at least allow the other keywords inside the campaign and the account to spend, since the ones we currently have active pushing conversions aren't converting to leases. Any other questions on cost per lead? So next up, addressing conversion rates. So if conversion rate is falling below our KPI of 5%, obviously conversion rate has much more to do with landing page experience and the quality of the traffic we're getting. So the first thing we'll do is we'll review the landing page, look for improvement points there. Might be certain ad copy that we want to refresh. It might be some tweaks to the images we're using, or some tweaks to the form submission itself, just to improve the user experience as a whole. We'll review the active keywords as well over a selected time period. We might want to shift search query focus if that needs to be implemented because conversion rate is below the KPI. In this case, if there was 3 or 4 keywords that maybe we're converting, but only converting at a 2.5% rate, and we're trying to get to 5%, we might consider pausing those keywords to then shift the focus towards higher converting keywords in general. And then we'll also do a review of the location targets. Similar to cost per lead, there might be location targets that are converting below our KPI. We want to continue to spend in the locations that are converting above our KPI. So if we pause certain locations, reallocate the budget towards the higher converting areas, that'll be improvements across the board for conversion rate. And we'll also review and make sure if we need any additional targets set up for locations, if the on-site team provided any of that, or if we're just seeing it based on the data we're pulling from Google Ads, we'll implement some additional active targets as well. And vice versa, we may remove some if they're not performing up to par as well. Any questions on conversion rate or this scenario? Similarly for click-through rate as well, if this is below our KPI, this will more have to do with the initial user experience. So when the user first sees our ad, solution one is definitely to review the search terms we currently have active in the audience targeting for relevance. Ultimately, if our click-through rate isn't meeting our KPI, it's an indication that the users we're serving to aren't as qualified as we may think. So we may need to shift overall keyword performance in general. If we're spending a lot on a subset of keywords, we may need to pause those and reshift the focus to the other queries that are in the account. We'll analyze the ad copy performance and then adjust the verbiage on specific ads that may fall short. In some cases, we'll see 6 out of 10 of the ads that we have active are actually meeting KPIs, and then the other 4 are below. So instead of changing the ad copy across the board, we'll zero in on those 4 ads that aren't performing well. We'll analyze that ad copy. We'll look at which headlines in each ad are performing well. We may change some ad copy in terms of headlines and descriptions, adjust the verbiage on those. And then also the big one here, if we have display and search network enabled for Google, the display network is what I had talked about previously, where we allow our ads to be served on different partner websites. Click-through rate is normally going to be lower when you have that enabled, since your ad's being served to a lot more users. If we were looking to bring click-through rate above our 5% KPI, we'll consider pausing the display campaign, focusing solely on search and potentially performance max if we have that enabled, just to get the most highly qualified traffic and users to see our ads instead of serving to the hundreds of thousands that may see it on the Google partner sites. Any questions on this slide? This is a big one. What if the leads aren't converting to leases? So this is ultimately the ultimate goal is to get these leads to turn into leases. And so we always want to know on the paid media team, if the efforts we're putting in aren't turning into leases, we want to be aware so then we can make changes based on what the on-site team and what you guys are seeing on your end. So we'll normally check all these boxes off when we're seeing an issue with leads converting to leases. We'll adjust the ad copy, the calls to action to attract more qualified prospects. Like the example I gave with the pinning the pricing and all the ads. If we're seeing an influx of unqualified users due to income, we might want to make the pricing more front-facing so that whenever someone clicks on their ad, they're totally aware that the apartments start at $1,300 or $1,400, and that's the cost of a 1-bedroom or a studio, whatever it may be. We'll again gather insights from leasing teams, the on-site teams, just on lead quality, like we had just talked about. Any sort of insights we can get as to why the leads are not converting to leases. Is it they're just not responding? Is it after an application submitted they aren't responding? Is it they're getting rejected for income reasons or other reasons? That'll help us kind of shift the focus to help improve the quality of leads based on the feedback we receive from you. And then we'll also just review the lead qualification forms that we have set up. There might be an instance where we add an additional pre-screening process. We just recently implemented across all landing pages the CAPTCHA checkbox where a user has to click and prove they're not a robot. That has really helped in terms of bot leads that are being submitted, where there might be certain aspects of the form that are an indication that there's a bot lead or it's some type of spam traffic. When we implemented that, we were able to see a pretty substantial downturn just in terms of the forms submitted. So that's an example of something we implemented on the landing page itself. And it may be an indication we need to add some more pre-screening questions to help reduce the unqualified traffic as well. And something on Meta that we've done recently as well and that we're testing out, Meta's allowed us to implement the SMS verification code. So if we have that box checked and someone tries to submit a form, they'll be sent a verification code to their phone. Then they have to implement that verification code to check that box, and then the form will be submitted. So if we're seeing spam leads come through, that usually helps with that. It also helps if people really don't have that much intent in terms of submitting the form. If they're really focused on that property, they'll go and get the verification code and submit it. So it helps just in general with the overall quality of leads that we see come through. Any questions on this slide? This is another big one. If we need to see an improvement in terms of lead volume, but we don't necessarily have room for a budget increase at the moment, not ideal, but there is ways we can shift the focus around to certain keywords and ad groups to help bring down the cost per conversion and then open up some more room for additional leads to come through. So that's what we'll do initially. We'll look at all the keywords that are spending, all the ad groups are spending. If we have ad groups spending on average that are running $150 cost per conversion, if we're looking to increase the number of leads, we'll pause that ad group and we'll shift the focus towards ad groups that are converting at a more efficient rate. We might implement a performance max campaign if it's not already implemented. Since this is focused on generating leads using the automation tools that we have available in Google, and its main focus is generating a ton of leads, that's usually something we'll implement if it's not already active. And we'll also look at the location history in terms of what we're seeing from each location we're targeting. There might be certain cities or towns that are converting at a really high rate at a low cost per conversion. We may want to shift focus into those areas to gain more leads in general, and we might want to shift them away, the budget away from locations that have a limited conversion history or an inefficient conversion history as well. Any questions on this slide?